So Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul are gonna fight, right? I think when we all heard this news, we were like, oh my god, Jake Paul's gonna get slumped.
You got knocked the fuck out, man!
This is the most likely result. Anthony Joshua has knockout power, and of course he was the world heavyweight champion. But what if I delivered you the hottest take in the history of hot takes? A hot take so hot that Satan himself will rise from f***ing hell and utter the words
6-7?
My hot take is that I think this is a winnable fight for Jake Paul, and I'm going to explain how right now. Going into this fight, a lot of people are going to describe it as the former world heavyweight champion versus a Disney star, but Jake Paul was only a Disney star for 18 months. He's been boxing for much longer, 7 years. And while this isn't comparable to AJ's 18 years of boxing experience, Jake Paul has had a head start that most professional boxers don't get. He's minted. As soon as Jake Paul started training boxing, he hired the best coaches money could buy and even built his own personal gym in Puerto Rico. So he may not have decades of amateur pedigree like many traditional pro boxers, but his 7 years of focused boxing experience combined with unprecedented financial resources gives him a unique advantage. Also, I think there are a few mental factors that we have to point out in this fight. Jake Paul has nothing to lose and AJ has everything to lose. I mean, for f***'s sake, if AJ gets knocked out by this guy,
Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy.
everything that he's done in his career will be tarnished. That kind of pressure can mess with a fighter's head. And I have a juicy example of this. Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor. Jose Aldo came into that fight with everything to lose. 10 years of dominance, an undefeated streak, and a legacy on the line. That pressure got to him as he came out nervous and emotional and made a critical mistake which allowed for Conor McGregor to knock him out in 13 seconds. In massive fights like this, mental pressure can be just as dangerous as skill. And it's exactly the kind of edge that Jake Paul could try to exploit against AJ. But here's another question. What if AJ isn't taking the fight seriously? Now granted, he probably doesn't need to because, you know, he's Anthony Joshua and that's Jake Paul. But we have seen before when someone who isn't considered a traditional boxer goes against an accomplished heavyweight champion and arguably beats them. And Tyson Fury has said multiple times he underestimated Ngannou. Now granted, you can't compare Jake Paul to the former UFC heavyweight champion, but I think it illustrates my point quite nicely. Now I've already made a few points as to why I think Jake Paul can win this fight, but there's something I haven't seen people talk about enough when it comes to this matchup, and that's the mention of AJ's last fight against Daniel Dubois. He lost that fight quite badly. In fact, he was dropped multiple times and then slumped out cold in the 5th round. And this got me thinking, what if Anthony Joshua's chin is cracked? When a fighter takes a really bad loss, it can change their entire career. For example, the UFC bantamweight Marlon Moraes was one of the best in the world. Then Corey Sandhagen shut his lights out with a spinning wheel kick. And after that, Moraes went on to lose his next 6 fights, and he got finished in every single one. Now, there's no way of knowing how this loss has affected Anthony Joshua, but one thing I noticed is he was dropped a lot of times in that fight, and he's coming to that age where he's not in his physical prime anymore. And yes, I do understand how ridiculous it sounds, coming from someone like me saying someone else isn't in their physical prime. But the general consensus in combat sports is when you get into your late 30s, that's when you start to lose things like timing and speed, which are very important things for a boxer to have. Now, you don't have to listen to a damn word that I have to say, but now I'm gonna give my official prediction for this fight. Now, with everything that I've mentioned in this video, I believe if Jake Paul exploits some of the things I've said, he might just make it to the 2nd round. Yeah, there's not actually a world where Jake Paul can win this fight. I mean, shit, I've got a better chance of going on a date with Sabrina Carpenter. Shut the f*** up.